everyone. Welcome to this Monday night's edition of The Light Gate. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Facebook, Tumblr, Roku, Rumble, sorry. I don't know why I do that. Rumble and YouTube. We have a really great guest tonight. One of my favorite people, absolutely favorite. And I just want to get the ball rolling. But before I do, real quick, we have a sponsor now, and it is Carnation. Hi, Carnation. I just want to let you all know that I can actually show you something. I love Carnation. It's absolutely, thank you for, working with our network. We are just excited about you, completely excited. Preston, ta-da, it's your turn.
Thank you, Dolly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on episode 78 of The Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Saffron. We're super happy to have Carnation on board. I love ripping open one of their little chocolate milk packets and getting it ready instantly. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. So awesome to see all you familiar faces and some new ones as well. And before I invite our guest on, Debz Shakti, she's a repeat guest. We had so much fun with her last time. Let me just say a quick hi to all you folks in chat. It's because of you we do this show. It's because of you my Mondays are that much brighter. So thank you guys for joining us. This should be so much fun. Let's see, who do we have here? We have Renee and a lot of emojis. Thank you, Renee. Always good to see you here. Mr. Ufologist. Yep, that's me. And we have Michael Kennedy bringing the popcorn, and Sandra from Northwest Virginia. Hopefully survived the hurricane with no big troubles. Yikes. We have Thirsty. Hello, Thirsty. Awesome to see you here. Scarlet Fire. Yes, Virginia, there are UFOs. And Santa Claus. I believe in Santa Claus, by the way. I think it was a real guy. Okay, who else do we have? We have Real Badger. We have Teresa Lavigne.
Hi.
Chris James. And who else do we have here tonight?
Hi.
Nice crowd. We got Mr. Catfish. I love being here with you guys. Oh, we love that you're here with us. So thank you for joining us, Mr. Catfish. And Scuba Maru, can always count on you. Thank you. And we have Sunny Burnett, always the fun part of Monday.
Awesome.
And the lovely Susan Alloway, who worked directly with our guest, Debz, and is a chapter, the longest chapter in my book, Humanoids and High Strangeness. Love you, Susan. Glad to hear you're doing so well. That's awesome. I love it when great things happen. Okay, we have Bambi Dudley. You are my lifeline to what seems to be reality. Best, Bambi. Oh, thank you, Bambi. That's so nice of you to say. And we have Scarlet Fire. Did I already bring you up? I think I may have, but it's worth a second. Okay, we also have Olivia. Looking forward to tonight's discussion. And Louise.
Hello, Louise.
And Jay Kirschman, hi from Virginia. Oh, we've got a nice big Virginia crowd.
Absolutely.
Cool. Oh, namaste. What can I say? But thank you. I love you. You're awesome. It's just great to see you here every week supporting the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's amazing. And Bob Thorson, also regular contributor, regular viewer. Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate you sharing your amazing UFO sighting with me. It was a good one. So thank you for everything. Peak. Oh, happy Monday, everyone. Big smiley face. And the Rooster's Crow. Looking forward to the woo. We'll bring it. We'll bring the woo. And of course, Debz Shakti is here in chat too. She is our guest tonight. And oh, love you back, Debz, from Susan. Okay, we have Jay Kirschman, we have Jim, we have Rat Food, we have Tina Ginger all the way from Michigan. Very active in terms of UFO activity. We have Catherine Jones, we have Ruth Kleiber, we have Donna Kaiser. What's coming is a space event. Our future is going to be interesting, I think. Charlie Hilbrandt, hello from Chicago, hometown,
Hey.
by the way. The Windy
How are
City.
you doing? Yeah.
Hector Gonzalez, hello from Queens. Susan, I love Carnation. Yes, they are a good company. We are very grateful. Who else do we got here? We have Johnny J2B from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Very nice.
And
we're not too far from you.
Janie Mashburn.
Hey, Janie.
And we have Leah. Gosh, nice big crowd.
Hello, Leah.
So awesome to see y'all here. John Schaefer's and T-Bone and
Kitty Boom.
Doris the chicken.
Hi.
Leah, this makes Monday evening interesting, which can be a challenge because Monday, Monday blues. Who else we got here? We have Mountain Dan and Richard Minnick and Freckled Jules. And I better get started real soon. CT Guitar Guy.
Hello.
Oh, Patsy Foister. Hello.
Hello. And she's saying hi to Real Badger.
Ted Langwale. Hi from Long Island, New York. Scooter Hooter. I love these names you guys have. Thank you for joining us, Scooter Hooter. We have the Equestrian Sheik, all the way from Pennsylvania. Very
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
We have Joseph A. and Jessica.
Hello.
Okay. Hello. I think it's time to just get this show on the road because I know our guest has lots to share. So excited to have Debz Shakti back on the Lightgate. She was on a previous episode. It did very well. We had so much fun. We talked all about all kinds of things. Debz has a lot to share. But for those of you who haven't heard of her, I don't know where you've been, but let me tell you a little bit about her. I've got her bio right here. She has a very impressive bio. She's an experiencer. She does QHT, quantum hypnosis. She's a podcaster, channeler, researcher, producer, an accomplished psychic, and author. I mean, she does it all. She worked with John Yost doing the film Alien Abduction Answers. John Yost has also been on this channel. Rest in peace, John. We love you. We know you're having fun there on the other side. So let me see. What else can I tell you about our guest? She offers many services beyond just quantum hypnotherapy. She's an open channel. She works with ET contactees. She does paranormal experience counseling, which is something that I think is badly needed. Energy alchemy, psychic readings. She hosts a long-standing local CE5 contact and consciousness group and is an active member of several international CE5 contact teams. Very important work. She leads retreats and researches the infinite nature of consciousness. That's a good word, infinite. She is, again, the associate producer of the award-winning film, Alien Abduction Answers. I don't often promote UFO documentaries, but this is a good one. The experiencers get a voice in this one. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. And let's see what else we have here. Debz has many decades of professional service working with this special population of experiencers, as well as with people from all walks of life who are seeking self-discovery and clarity about the nature of consciousness. She's the host of the Hidden Variables podcast, presenting interesting guests from all walks of life who help make our world a better place, and the Vortex, a free online group where experiencers of all types of phenomena can gather to share stories, learn coping and enhancement techniques, and support one another. Debbie was born with many psi gifts, which she affectionately called her superpowers. I love that. They were switched on right away, like you, Dolly. Debz cherishes a lifetime of almost daily contact with various forms of non-local consciousness, ETs, interdimensionals, orbs, celestials, ultra-terrestrials, you name it. She has always perceived and been able to live and work multidimensionally and channels the ultra-wise group entity known as the Star Teachers, as well as other highly advanced beings. Goodness gracious, Debz, I can go on. You are amazing. She works with many types of energy healing modalities, is a lifelong yogi and yoga, breathwork, meditation, mantra teacher. Anne is also a competitive athlete, a former national champion martial artist. That is so cool, Debz. You're just the coolest. Debz Shakti loves everyone. She knows love is the answer. Our planet and everything that makes up life. She is doing her best to work her purpose and dharma to assist as many people as possible to become consciously balanced and sustained in self-awareness. And most of all, to be, capital, share and teach love, all capital letters. You, of course, can find out more about Deb's work in the links posted in the show comments. But let's waste no more time and bring on the lovely Debz.
Hi, Debz.
Oh, man, thank you, you guys. You spent half the show giving my bio.
Hey,
I only have a long bio because I'm old and highly distractible.
And highly accomplished, too.
Thank you.
So you have something coming up. We want to mention that several times. I thought we may as well start it in the beginning because it sounds like an important and
I'm super excited. My bestie, Melissa Kane, who owns a resort up in northern Wisconsin where we hold a lot of our contact retreats and our other contact modality retreats, has put together a beautiful, for the very first time, contact modalities expo that's going to be May 2nd through the 4th of 2025, coming right up.
Cool.
And it's going to be in Delavan, Wisconsin, which is really close to Chicago, Madison, a lot of the big hubs where it's really like easy to get to. This beautiful lake resort. And we have so many great people. I feel so humbled to be on the same podium as these people. Jimmy Church is going to be our host, and we have Chris Bledsoe.
Oh, wow.
We have Paula Harris.
Nice.
We're going to have Gary Osborne coming on, and Kimberly Porth, one of my other besties, who is like the CE5 queen. She's also a lifelong yogi too, and a yoga teacher. And so we work together very closely in our contact work, which kind of blends some of those ancient techniques. And we get people to use them to have a really great form of contact, along with regular CE5 protocols. And there's just a plethora of other guests coming, but it is going to be fantastic. And the tickets are going to go on sale on November 1st. So anybody who comes to any of my social media pages or my website or anything, you'll be able to get that information. But I highly encourage you guys to come. I'm going to be doing, at least for now, we're pretty sure I'm going to be doing on stage for the very first time a quantum hypnosis session with a surprise guest. And we will see what happens. Up till now, in over 40 years, I have never allowed even one person in the room during my sessions. But I was told that time is over. It's time to get this work out more to the public and get people more involved. So I'm going to be doing that. And then I will probably also be doing another separate event where I'm going to be doing a gallery where I channel the star teachers and people can get involved that way and interact. So, and who knows what else. We'll be doing Skywatch. We're doing all kinds of things. So it's going to be so much fun.
How cool. How lucky you are to be able to do this kind of work.
I am the luckiest person on the planet, I think. And I'm so grateful. I just, the older I get, the more exciting things are. It's a crazy world, but we have all of this stuff happening now where people are actually really excited about it. And it's not something you have to kind of whisper to somebody over here. And, so people don't think you're cuckoo crazy. It's mainstream stuff. And we're really excited to be presenting all of these great people. So
very cool. I just have to say, I love your background.
Oh, thank you.
Very beautiful.
I created that myself. So thank you very much.
I love it. It reminds me of infinity.
Yeah. It's a kind of my interpretation, or one of them, of the quantum field, which is, my favorite playground. So
cool. Well, I know we've got lots to talk about, and we had you on earlier on a previous episode where we talked about a lot of your own experiences. But for people who are joining here the first time, I'm wondering if you could just tell a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today, and just lead us into what you want to talk about.
Sure. First, I want to say thanks to everybody who's donating the super chat. Susan just did.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot. Anyway, like my bio said, I was born this way. I came in being able to perceive and interact with, the different dimensional aspects of consciousness. And so, ETs, what people call spirits, ghosts, fairies, angels, all of that. And I didn't, and other forms of human life on other frequencies too. And I didn't know that you were supposed to, that was that we're in a separate box. So that was kind of interesting. And little kid being even a toddler, my parents just thought I was really creative and smart, but they thought it was cute until I went to parochial school, and then that was not cute. That had to be squelched. And so I grew up kind of conflicted because it wasn't an accepted thing to, talk about these other entities. I also have always had the ability to perceive and work with energy. And so even when I was a little kid, people would bring like a sick puppy or have me sit with their grandma or someone and, just hold them or talk to them, hold their hands, and they would feel better. So I've always been an energy worker. As I got older, I'm kind of split down the middle between being very spiritual, spiritually inclined and very scientific. And so once I realized I was kind of different than a lot of people I was around, I started looking for answers and studying science. And then also, thank goodness, I was born during the hippie revolution, and people started talking about yoga, meditation, astral travel, ETs, things like that. And so I started taking classes, getting certified in certain things, and so that I could explain it better to myself as much as to the world. So I have a lot of stuff under my belt. I'm an old gal, and so I've had a long time to put it together. But what I find is the more I study, the more I practice, the more I interact, the more I know I don't know anything. And I'm grateful to have the experiences, and I'm super grateful to understand this one thing. I may not understand how or why or how any of this works, but I have now come to trust it implicitly. And if you can trust, you kind of open up that flow state, the quantum field opens up to you and you're able to access what you need to help other people. And so that's my purpose, is just to kind of work with anyone who wants to work with me, and also just to help the world become a better place, because we all have this ability. That's the other thing I like, is with my work, I have two main things other than helping the person, achieve what they want to achieve. But from my end, to ensure their well-being at all times during the process, whatever I'm doing with them, and then also to teach them how to do this stuff themselves and encourage them to go out in the world and teach others, because it does no one any good to have one person saying, I have all this stuff and you have to come to me. It needs to be spread around. The forms of consciousness that are my best friends have given me these things and shared it with me. And now, it's time for me to share with the rest of the world and to spread it around the world, because the world needs these things. This is it's the new ancient future technology, let's just say.
Yeah. Well, like I like to tell people, we are all an integral part of this universe. We have all the power of the universe within us. We're all a part of it. So
we're all a part of it, and we are all connected via quantum entanglement, because we all originated from the same speck of energy. And, I've said this before, you've probably heard it ad nauseum from me, but we know energy cannot be created nor destroyed. However, it changes its form and function via its vibrational state. And so, put a tablespoon of water in a pan and it's liquid. Put that water in an ice cube tray, put it in the freezer. It slows down the molecules. It's still H2O, but it becomes a solid because its vibrational state has slowed down molecularly due to the cold. Put it back in that pan, turn the heat on, and it turns into water again, then steam, then vapor, and then the air. It's still H2O, but it has changed its form and function via its vibrational state. And so do we. So we are not just this, what I call the spacesuit, the body.
I like that.
We can still be in this body and travel to anywhere and when we choose, volitionally, into the quantum field, because we are part of that and it is inside of us. So those are kind of the things that I like to talk about and teach people then how to access that. How do I access these other realms? How do I get answers? How do I find out why I have this problem? How do I heal? And so it's a fun life.
Very cool. Well, we're already getting questions from chat, so keep those questions coming, guys. We'll get to them for sure. But so you're doing this pretty much full time now, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much have always done it full time, and then up till recently, also full time, been a corporate person. My whole life, I've had more than one job. But now I have retired from the corporate world, and this is my full focus, other than my family and my health and things like that. But so it's really fun now. It's really starting to be super fun.
Wow. Well, I know in our last show with you, we talked a lot about you and your experiences, which are so fascinating. And I'd love to dive into those or any new experiences we haven't covered. But I'm also very interested in all the work you've done with other people, like Susan Alloway, for example, is in the chat today. We love Susan. She was a prior guest on the show, and she connected with you through the most amazing synchronicity.
That's miraculous. Yeah, I can talk about that. First, I see Leah says, may I ask if Debz takes clients? All the time. Yeah, you just get hold of me at my website or anything. All those links, you'll be able to see that. And I love taking clients. It's my lifeblood. But speaking of clients, we were talking about Susan. Susan can tell this story best, but I can paraphrase. She had a very extremely unusual contact event happen to her back when she was a young adult, having just left her stint in the Navy. And it was so unusual and in some cases disturbing in some parts. And she kind of kept it hidden for her whole adult life. And one night she was just feeling, I don't know, she describes it as kind of pushed to look up. She had kind of closed that part of her life off and was focusing on family and, all of these other things. But she was pushed to look up UFO or abduction videos. I can't remember what she was looking up. I think it was abduction. And our film, Alien Abduction Answers, had just premiered that day. And she
amazing.
She got on there, started streaming it. And as I remember her words saying, the first 15 seconds, I think the first 30 seconds, listening to my dear friend John Yost speak about his experience as he's beginning the movie, she said everything came back to her and she knew that she had to contact him and talk to him about it. So she watched the movie, and then right after she sent him, I think, a very long letter, told him about her stuff, and they got on the phone together, talked, I think, for hours, and then he told her, you really need to talk to Debz, because they were talking about my work with him. I did quantum hypnotherapy with him. That's a very long and convoluted story about how that happened and how the movie even happened. But again, super synchronistic. And in fact, I think it was all super planned out way before we were ever born. And we were pushed and helped along by our star friends. But anyway, she got hold of me and I heard her story and I was just like, wow, I love, yum, 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 yum. Let's get to work. And we did. And it was incredible because she had a lot of missing pieces, a lot of lost time, a lot of missing memories. And in the first session, she recovered a lot of that and a lot of healing and balancing. And then, all the good stuff started happening. But now, thanks to people like you, Preston, and California MUFON State Director Earl Gray and Richard Bosniak, the investigator, she's a pretty famous person now. Not that she wants fame, but she wanted clarity and she wanted resolution. She wanted closure about this and she wanted to understand it. And what's happened in her search for all this is she has helped, I don't know how many thousands of people also recognize I have had the same type of thing happen and I need to find out how to open up that Pandora's box because it's actually a very good thing to do.
Yeah,
So,
it kind of gives me chills when I think of all the synchronicities involved with just Susan, because her coming together with me, her case becoming the case of the year for MUFON.
That's right. Just recently announced. I
Wow.
mean, in a year's time, this explosion of activity happened for her. And because of that, now it has exponentially started exploding outward and affecting so many, probably hundreds of thousands of people. So I'm so grateful for her bravery and so grateful to you for encouraging her to tell her story because she's a very, she's a person who was very private up till recently. So
Yeah, as most
awesome
contactees are.
Yeah. But I have to say her session, like John's, they're all amazing, but hers was so unique and just so full of information that was so unusual. It was just a delight. Still is.
So what is the whole process like when you do quantum hypnotherapy?
Well, if a person hasn't worked with me, we do a special thing where it's about 4.5 to 5 hours for the first one, the initial one. And I do it that way because, again, I try to teach them certain processes to allow themselves to access the quantum field easily. Breath work, sound technology, meditation. And so there's homework ahead of the time that they practice. They have to fill out a very comprehensive questionnaire as well, because that questionnaire, we work for at least the first 2 hours of that session going over. And that really helps to build rapport and trust. And it also helps me to kind of ahead of the game sync up with what's going to happen in that quantum field. And then we take a little break and then we do a little mini version of that practice that I gave them to practice, which really it helps to clear and balance their chakric system, their energy centers. It also helps to clarify and activate the pineal gland, which is what I like to call the cosmic satellite dish. We literally are able to channel any version of ourselves, of which there are infinite versions, from the quantum field once we have that open channel. So really, it's teaching people how to channel as well. So we do that little practice, and then they get really relaxed. I put them through a delightful, custom crafted induction, and then we take the journey. And everybody's unique. Even the people who keep coming back for follow-ups, which are much less lengthy. They're usually 90 minutes, 2 hours at max, sometimes even an hour. Pardon me. And but we go through. For most people, we go through 2 or 3 what you might call past lives. I just call them alternate life realities because there is no past, present, or future. It's just all right now, right? And we start to get information from these because they're like little jigsaw pieces for the puzzle. And then we go to the higher self and ask permission to talk to the higher self. And that's where everything gets tied together. because that's at the top of the food chain, if you will. You can call it God, divine source, cosmic mind, whatever you want to call it. But that higher self has all the access to everything easily and can explain it. So it usually ties together everything that they experienced in that session. And by the way, those people are they're in the deepest state of theta/gamma brainwaves state. So they are almost asleep, but they're super focused and they are able to talk. So they narrate everything. They tell me everything, and I will ask questions, and they'll talk about it, either first person or third person. When we get to the higher self, it's usually in the third person. It's very authoritative. The whole demeanor of the body even changes usually, and it will speak with a great amount of direct authority and tell why that person visited those lives, what that means to why they're here today in the session, for whatever reason they're there, what their intent was. And then if there's any healing needed, if there's any what I call prescriptions needed as far as advice of things to do, encouragement, next steps, all of that, that's given then. And then sometimes I will even ask more questions than what the person wrote down. And I usually ask if there's a message for the world, and there always is. And what's cool is that higher self, no matter who I'm talking to in session, it's always the same person. It's like always the one. And it will add to what was said in the session before, even though these people have never seen each other, never known each other. And so there's messages that get put together over time for the world that are, even in bits and pieces, are very, very important and impactful. But now what we're getting is kind of a more complete message for the world, and it's incredible. And then we eventually let them go. We come back, ground, and debrief, and that's kind of what that first session is like. However, it's different for everybody. And lately, people will come to the session and they may skip all that other past life stuff and just go to the higher self. And wow, that is some rowdy stuff. I mean, they might start talking technology. They might start talking philosophy, things that these people have no education or even interest in. And it will just start spewing forth all this information. And a lot of it we've been able to validate or contact scientists and say, do you know anything about this? And they're like, well, that's what we're working on right now. But that sounds like a piece that we might want to get, that it might give them a different direction where they're going. So it's been really interesting. It's a fascinating thing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what are some of other interesting cases that you've worked on in terms of, talking to people and uncovering their stories?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I don't even know where to start. I mean, just in the last week, I've spoken to a person. We've gone through a session where she's a female in this life, but in one of her most impactful lives, she was what we would call an extraterrestrial, or really an interdimensional. Everybody's interdimensional, but that focus is not a physical being, but who can manifest a physical expression if they want, who literally goes around creating universes like a mastermind, and the process by which that is facilitated. I mean, it was very technical, but very almost whimsical. It was incredible, and it's all about using light and sound. So I found that very interesting, because we think about, a lot of the ancient sacred texts, whether it's Christian or some of the Hindu texts or the yogic texts or the Buddhist texts, they all start out, I'm paraphrasing, but in the beginning was the word. and then light was created, and then, and all this stuff. It's always talking about sound and light. And when people in these sacred texts are manifesting something or calling on a special power to heal or to, overcome oppression or whatever, they're always talking about either the light and or using sound. So I found that very interesting. And I hope I get to work with this person a lot, because I think there's something really important there for us. I think we got the prelude, if you will, to that story in that session. But that was just a couple of days ago. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, so amazing.
Well, that must be very rewarding.
It is. I'm always just so charged up after these sessions. And then, we get people who have sessions where it seems, interesting, but they'll either be in an earth life. It seems like an earth life, but then the more we get into it, you can tell it's not on planet Earth. It's still physical, but they're not even human. And they'll start talking about, their daily life. That's usually how I get them. The more they talk, the more they verbalize, the deeper they go, and the more their perceptive window opens, which is really cool. So, I've had many people just start out, and it sounds like, they're having a mundane kind of past life memory, talking about, living in a hut in the woods and, what kind of trees there are and all of that. And then suddenly there's something very impactful that happens. And it's important to that person, especially, and especially important to what's happening to that person in this life right now. So, just the super simplified one from not long ago, a person, another lady, had terrible, terrible headaches, and they were like right here, and she could never get rid of them. Just horrible. She immediately was, went in, and her very first alternate life experience, she was a warrior, a primitive warrior, and was fighting some sort of altercation with another tribe. They had weapons, and she was hit in the head with like what we might call a hatchet or a hand axe, and was killed. And she went through the whole thing. She described it. And of course, in this process, they don't feel pain. They don't experience, the emotions. They're reporting. They're like a reporter narrating. But she said, that here it came, and she said, I knew that this was my death moment, and the hatchet struck her in the brain and stuck there. And she said, and I'm leaving my body, and I'm looking down, and oh, that looks so strange. That hatchet, that axe is sticking out of my head, and everybody's stunned. Even the person who killed her is stunned. And then they go through that passing away experience, which is some of the most rewarding moments of the session, because to a person, after all these years, no one has ever not had a beautiful death. And when we describe it as a beautiful death, then they realize there is no death, that it's the opening of another experience, and it's beautiful. And I'm going to cry because it's so emotional, and the energy is so high when we go through that part. And often they will put that together when we talk to the higher self, if it's not super apparent. That one was really apparent. Hey, you have headaches now because you're still kind of attached to the trauma of that, that death where you were hatcheted to death. And once they see it, once they perceive it and narrate it, the energy dissipates, and they no longer are attached to that ailment or that disease or that pain or that suffering. It's a beautiful way to heal. So.
Wow. Yeah, I've had, it's funny when it comes to past lives and recall, I've had a few of that out of body experience. I know Dolly has as well. Mm-hmm. And it goes right to the death scene in so many of the cases. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah. Well, it's because your higher self knows what you need. That's the best prescriptor. That's the best healer. Conversely, I have people, they'll go really deep, and then I'll say, well, what are you aware of? What do you sense? Nothing. It's black. I'm not there, I guess. I'm not doing it right. I'm like, yeah, you're in. I'm not going to always tell. And then I say, just keep telling me about it. What does that feel like to be in? Are you disappointed? Are you angry? No, I'm in blackness. It feels kind of comfortable to just be in blackness. I can't remember the last time I didn't have a lot of stimulus, and they start talking about it. And then before long, we finally get to the meat of the answer is either they're in the womb, which becomes apparent pretty quickly because they hear heartbeat or they feel movement or they start to have the birth experience, or they're in the place between lives, in the void. They might even be the singularity before everything decided to express as all of this. And that is always a really fantastic experience to have them go through. So I always tell people who just say, oh, I can't see anything, I just see black. I'm like, oh, well, you must be a really masterful soul to be able to get there that quick, because that takes a long time for some people. But we always go there at some point. So,
wow. Dolly, do you have any questions?
No, I'm listening. I'm enjoying this.
oh,
I'll let you know if I come up with something. Yeah, I know. Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
I mean, anything I would comment at, there was a point I want to let Deb talk. So.
oh, you're so sweet. Well, and I know you can relate too. We've had this discussion before, and
Right.
we could talk all night about it, but it is fun. And but I think the most delightful part of this for me, what keeps me coming back and keep offering this work, is how unique each one is and how diverse it is. Yes, when I do work with someone for a long time, sometimes we do have what I call a serial relationship where they just keep going back in and reporting. I some of it is so private, and everything is super confidential with me. Unless I have permission, I'm not allowed to talk about it. But we talk a lot about ancient civilizations, even here on this planet and pre-planetary, where the seeding was started, or when it was the first notion happened to bring life to this planet. And a lot of the time in these serial ones where the person keeps coming back and jumping back in, it's kind of like a serial dream, where you're dreaming and then you have to get up and go to the bathroom and then you go back to sleep and the dream starts up again and you keep going. That's how this is. And the narrative keeps getting richer and richer and more information keeps coming. We've, with one person, have been talking a lot about the civilization that built all of those megalithic structures at Machu Picchu in Peru. And it is nothing like what most of us have thought. And but yet it's so convincing because it's so technical and it's so specific. The details are so rich. And so I'm hoping that the person I'm working with who is bringing forth this information will eventually allow me to collaborate with them and publish a book on that, because that's a very interesting subject to me. And it's very impactful on how we got to where we are now because of the technology that they had back then. I would
love to bring a group of psychics to various, what do you call it, megalithic monuments, and just have them read it.
Yes.
Because that's a whole new avenue of approach to knowledge that I think it's not being utilized.
I even had an experience myself once when I went to Chichen Itza. I thought, I'd been wanting to go there for decades, and I was so excited to go up into that temple that at the top of that pyramid. And
you climbed it?
At the time you could, yes, and I did.
Yes, right.
Before I even got to that part of that park, the guide, he's leading us in, and we passed by something that looks exactly like an observatory, only made out of stone. Right. And he said, oh yeah, that's the observatory. We call that the observatory. And instantly I was not with my husband or my friends or the guide or anyone. I was back in a life where I was there. And
very cool.
it was, I wasn't a very good person back then. I was the spiritual leader / astrologer or astronomer who worked in that observatory, and I sold my people out to the Spaniards who came through. So, to save my own skin. So I wasn't a good person then, and I was shown that, and I was devastated. I'm like, oh, I thought I was this very spiritual person, and no, I was very mercenary and kind of a scaredy cat back then. So, but that's maybe why I do what I do here now, trying to, make up for that, or I don't know.
Yeah,
But
we have to have all kinds of experiences to have a well-rounded.
we do. And in fact, I think that's a good point that you bring up, Preston. I believe, this is just me, and you guys might not buy into this, but I believe because we all really are all one, that we all live all lives, all versions simultaneously. We're all the same being. We're just different facets of that same being, looking at it from different points of perspective. So, you're Preston, you're Dolly, over there's Susan, and there's Leah, and, there's Tim. But really, there's just one being experiencing and perceiving and expressing from these different points of perspective. So to me, it's very, very fascinating to explore all that. But I do believe we live all of them, the good, the bad, the beautiful.
One of the things that I learned growing up in my training from ET is that we are independent of one another. We are on our own paths. And the reason for that is our autonomy. We were given autonomy by what the ET referred to as all mind. Mm-hmm. We are part of that. We are part one in the all mind.
Yes.
And being wide open awake, we experience each other's lives. We're not living them with them, but we do communicate to the point that we can experience or watch it happen. Outside of this third dimensional space, there is no space time, and we see everything in the figure eight in an eternal loop. Okay. Yeah. And so we have access to everything, everyone at all times. And our higher consciousness, who we really are, you call it the higher self, it's what's indwelling your body right now, is in communication or communion with that, or consensus with it. Right. And it's a valuable thing to know and be able to operate with, because you, instead of falling down flat on your face life after life after life, you get the access to watch, learn, and listen before you make the move yourself. The idea here is that we learn all that is learnable and to employ it. And the only way to do that is through experience from ourselves and others. Right. And it's important to realize that that's happening to all of us always.
All the time. Always. You put it
We've all been bad people.
Yeah.
I was a pirate.
Yeah, I know. But, some pirates were doing good work.
Pirates were actually...
they were the Knights Templar, actually.
Yes, they were. You bet. Yep.
Thank you, Debz.
They were. So,
Absolutely.
Bye, buddy. Yeah.
Thank you, Heidi.
Should I do the secret handshake? But what I want to say is, I think that's wonderful. It's a wonderful explanation of it, and we are all empathic, and so we can sense what another is going through if we choose to.
Right.
And I think the key here is to become, I think is our goal as human beings, is to become more and more consciously self-aware, because when we do the practice to go inward and really tap into that, then we can understand and be much more empathic to someone else and understand them, even if they're doing something we don't agree with.
Right. Well, there's communication between you when that's happening. If somebody's going through something really difficult, hard, even bad or good, it just depends on where each individual is at. And if you're empathic enough to experience that with them, there's a thing called help, service to one another. Okay. Yes. And that's what we're supposed to be employing here on this planet in this time, is helping one another to that to that point. And you can't do that if you don't stick yourself in with them
No.
and go there, you know?
You have to walk in their shoes.
Right. You can't tell somebody anything until you walk them all in their shoes, literally walk them all in their shoes. And by the time you do that, you realize, okay, yeah,
Maybe I understand.
you got to stand back for a minute and go, okay, let's think about this, you know,
Yeah.
and try to work it out together, you know, and that's where it happens. That's where the real good happens.
And
Working
that's
together, you know.
that's the key.
Oh, look at the cat is sitting there
I
watching the
know
show.
the cat has been there for so long. So
Trixie.
cute.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is the word is coherence. It's part of the title of the book that I'm hopefully finishing by the end of the year. It has a really long title right now. It may change because it's a mouthful, but it's called Contact, Consciousness, and Coherence, the message of the
Nice.
Star Teachers. And so they bring all of that stuff in to an explanation of how bringing those concepts of contact, for instance, in my case, contact, quantum hypnosis, channeling energy together to make positive and beneficial contact with advanced levels of consciousness, which is us,
Mhm.
you know? So I tell people, you know, I laughingly call this body my spacesuit. And the operating system is this tiny little flash drive called brain.
Mm.
And the software is your intelligence. It's a small piece of your consciousness, but not a lot of that information is on board. But we
Yeah,
have
well,
access to,
Yeah.
we have access, complete access to the cloud, which is the quantum field or the higher self. That's
Your-
where all information lies.
we have to work on getting our pineal glands to operate properly.
Yep.
It
And
is
that's
the
a
number one
big part of my
transmitter
work.
and receiver in your body, and
Yep.
it's part of our equipment as a human being.
Yeah.
And your brain, the computer by which you physically govern this life that you're going through, is only as good as the consciousness that's operating it.
Exactly.
When you're in utero, your consciousness is already teaching you because that connection is wide open. You come out almost understanding any language that you're being taught by your
Yeah.
mother in utero.
And
You're cognizant of many things. They've learned that babies understand 1,000% more than they realized.
Mhm.
They're just not operating the system yet completely. They're wiring it up.
Yeah.
When we're very young, our consciousness is wide open, talking to us all the time, and our children see and hear everything. They're they're little spiritual babies, you know, Buddha babies.
Yeah.
And which Preston's got a niece, great niece, that's a Buddha baby. You know, she has
all
in
the
it.
ones coming in
She's so
now are
cute.
yes.
There's
And
a picture of her. She's like 1 year old, and she's
yes, like,
oh, so
she's
precious.
doing-
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
so cute.
I did that with my own two children.
Yeah.
From the moment I knew that I was pregnant, I played music to them. I've had headphones on my tummy. I read books. I talked to them. And from the moment they were born, because I know that for the first, you know, I came from clinical psychology,
Mhm.
studied quantum physics, and now I'm big into neuroscience. In fact, I'm about to get my certification as a neuropsychologist, probably again in January.
Oh, wow.
So I study all of these things. We now know that from conception, pretty much, when the brain from whatever point when the brain starts to grow to age 7, children are almost in a constant theta brainwave state.
right, exactly.
Same brainwave state that we're using in quantum hypnosis.
That's right. That's
and-
where your pineal gland is operating at maximum efficiency.
It is the transceiver.
With,
It's
yeah, that's right.
transceiver. And
It also can project.
yeah,
thought,
it's
you know,
Which is the way we're
brain
supposed to.
meaning it is a transmitter and a receiver. And
That's right.
so whatever you are assisting them with via, you know, your verbalization, your actions,
to their higher consciousness already, and it's
Right.
transmitted to their physical brain.
they're getting downloads constantly. They're
That's right.
streaming in the
See and
womb.
hear things that you have lost the ability to do. And it's not our, okay, I'm not laying blame, but I'm going to say why it happened. We live in a society worldwide for thousands of years that has discounted that.
Oh, I
knowledge.
know.
and has beat it or bullied it out of all of us,
Mhm.
and given it negative connotations and almost made you ashamed of being that way or ridiculed for it. And so you can
Because
shut your
you're easier to control that way.
Thank you. Perfect point. And so as adults, when we realize this has happened to us, one of the things that helps us is by meditation, we learn to turn that equipment back on. And we have to observe how that happens. In other words, we have to stop the toxic stuff that we put in our bodies.
Exactly.
We have to learn to focus or go within to go without.
Mhm.
And you have to learn how to focus to nothing.
Yeah.
Because when you shut your physical mind has gotten to the point as an adult without training that you're hearing everything in your head and you're not listening anymore to your consciousness tell you things, and you have to shut up. And that's why meditation is so important, because it brings you down to a focal point, and you know, Buddha used to say, let it go, stop all stimulation. And I one of the things that I advocate for is that everybody go get a book on meditation. Start reading what it takes to make this transition. It doesn't happen overnight. It's hard work. Your reason number one, I'm going to bring this up. You work hard your whole life. You don't stop learning. You don't stop working.
Mm-hmm.
You employ everything that you've ever learned to move forward to the next step. Yeah. And that's what we have to realize, that that's how it works. It's not a game we're here for. It's life we're here for, and learning. Yeah. And it'll take a while to break loose, your problem with
programming, your indoctrination, right?
Yes,
right.
And open up.
I couldn't agree more. And this is basically why I give the homework I give to my clients before we ever start working together, because I don't know any person, especially a person who's come into adulthood, who doesn't have a very calcified, clogged up, closed down pineal gland. And that literally is your Google search.
Exactly.
I love that.
Whatever streaming device you want to call it, that is how you access the quantum field, or the cosmic mind, or the mind of God, or the all that is, whatever you want to call it. The practice.
I just like to think of it as the universe. It's very chatty. It never shuts up.
It is.
If you want the truth, that's where you go.
Yeah. The YOU universe. And people too, she mentioned, get a book on meditation. If you go to my website, I've got a lot of free tutorials on there about how to do this. And I'm happy to share that with anybody. I've been teaching
there's
it.
Almost no wrong way to meditate, really.
No, there's not. And that's the other message I want to give you. It's not you. Everybody has their own unique way of doing it. You don't have to sit still and, chant Om for 20 minutes to get in there. Everybody has a different way, and it morphs over your lifetime. I've been practicing since I was little, and the way I get into that deep state, it's just the most beautiful state. The bliss state is completely different than when I first learned when I was a child, and definitely different than when I was 21, and definitely different than when I was 35. And so, but if you want help, there is free help out there. There are tons of great books, ancient books, modern books. But if you want some quick tutorials on how to experience it, even a little bit, hit me up or go to my website. You'll get it.
I mean, you can do sound meditation. You can do color meditation. All kinds. We do have to take a quick station ID. Yes. But I do have a question I want to ask you at some point about, helping people who are having paranormal experiences.
I would love it.
Because I don't think we ever covered that.
No, can't wait.
And oh my gosh, the questions in chat are amazing. So I definitely want to.
Let's get to those too.
Okay. But before we do, I just want to let you all know that you are watching The Light Gate. It's episode 78. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Saffron. Our guest tonight is Debz Shakti. We're talking about so many amazing things. Some of the work she's done with quantum hypnotherapy and gosh, I can't even verbalize some of the stuff we've been saying. It's very profound. I'd have to go back and watch it again. But, Kitty, don't sit on the keyboard. She's definitely right here next to me. I want to let you all know that we are streaming on several platforms. We're very blessed to be airing live at 107.7 FM and 105.3, the United Paranormal Radio Network, and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are also on Roku. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Rumble. And as you can see, Dolly's holding up some carnation. We're super grateful for carnation coming on board. We love you very much. It's my favorite thing to whip open a packet of carnation chocolate milk and sip that on a nice cool evening. And let me see, what else can I say? Episode 78, I covered it. Lightgate. And our guest, Debz Shakti, who is a returning guest, by the way. Check out her previous episode here, which you can do a search on, by the way. If you're trying to find any episode on the Lightgate, there's a little search thing, and you can just type in a person's name. And again, Deb's links are in the show description. And yeah, we've got to get to these questions because there's a lot of them. They're awesome. But Debz, people have like hauntings that are very difficult to go through, or they'll experience, say, a precognitive dream, which absolutely freaks them out because sometimes, it
can be scary.
Future events that are not particularly pleasant, or they're going through some paranormal thing that they don't understand. And this is part of what you do. So I'd love to hear a little bit about some of your experiences with that.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the first thing that you talked about, hauntings, or buildings, for instance, that have what the person reports as an entity who's causing a ruckus or terrifying everybody or whatever. What I have found is that everything, no matter, again, we said it at the top of the show, ETs, angels, demons, fairies, dragons, all of this, it's all part of consciousness. But consciousness is, again, energy, and it expresses in different ways depending on its vibrational state, where you're focused on the vibrational state. So a person can call, and I've done this 1,000 times, will call and say, I think we have a ghost, or I think we have an evil entity in our house, and it's really scaring us, and can you come and clear it? And so I'll say, of course, and I'll go. And there are some practices I do. Of course, you want to make sure that you keep yourself in a high vibrational state so that, you can still perceive these beings, and however they're
negative being can feed off your fear. So that's the last thing you want to do.
It's the last thing you want to do. You don't want them to bump up against you in a resonant vibrational state if they're causing a ruckus. So you come in with a very high vibrational state. I usually do stuff with the people who live there to lift their vibrational state. So there's a lot of spiritual stuff that we do, and a lot of shaman do it. You go through and smudge the house, and you might chant, and you might ring bells, and you might use salt, whatever feels best, whatever my higher self says at the time. My guides tell me what to do. And then once we feel like the energy is pretty vibrationally high and that everybody's stable, then, and by that time I've probably already perceived that being or set of beings, then I start communicating. And I do it just like I would any other client. I say, what do you want us to know? What are you trying to say? What's happening? Because literally what's happening is they're there in an overlay of life in the same place, but they're looking through the other side of the mirror, and they are probably just as confused as these people, or troubled, or whatever. If I can gain rapport with that being or those beings, and I always do, sometimes it takes a while, but I always do, once you can gain that rapport, energetically, I will send constant unconditional love, constant high vibrational energy healing. And then they start to tell me what's going on in their life. They're upset about something. Maybe they didn't even know they died. They don't know where they are. They're confused. And so they're lashing around, Think about what happens if you fall off a boat in the middle of the night in the ocean, in the dark ocean, and you're just flailing your arms and screaming and causing a ruckus. You don't have any concept of where you are or how you're going to be helped. That's what some of these beings are like. So we talk about it, and I do energy work. I do love work, vibrational work with them, but there's always something that comes out in that conversation. And I'm always telling the people who live in this reality what is being said, or sometimes you can hear it. Sometimes they will hear the voice too. And I'll say, is there anything going on in your life that reflects that? Are you feeling helpless somewhere? Are you feeling confused? Are you feeling trapped? Are you angry about something? And then they'll start telling me what's going on in their life. And suddenly there's coherence. They see each other. They feel each other. And it's almost like it dissolves. The karma, if you will, the lesson is learned. And so it's dissolved. And so they go to the light, or whatever that problem is has resolved itself, so they can move on and have a happier life in their overlay of this place. And these people no longer feel unsafe. And usually they don't perceive each other anymore, because the reason for the contact has no valence anymore. It's not valid anymore. They've achieved their purpose. So that's often what happens. Yeah. And sometimes it takes a while, it can take hours. It could take several days sometimes, and just coming back and chipping away at it. But there's always a message for the human people in that house or that building from the other humans or entities or whatever. Anyway, that's kind of how I work that. Now, a lot of the time when people see what they are calling ghosts, they're just seeing, it's all versions of you, I believe. Maybe you don't buy into that, but quantum science kind of tells us that. And the ancient yogic texts and other texts also say that's true. But basically, a ghost is just another frequency of a being who's living, and you'll be able to perceive them. Why are you able to perceive them? Because something is inside of you energetically resonating with that person.
And I'm going to tell you something about frequency. I'm going to jump in for a minute, because I want everybody to be on the same page with this. This is absolute scientific knowledge that I've been given. Frequency is literally what the vibration that's caused by an action. You think in alpha, beta, theta, gamma, delta waves, and your brain waves are unique to you. Also, your consciousness mirrors, or your brain mirrors your consciousness brainwave pattern. And it is your thumbprint. It is your voice, period. And every one of us has a different frequency of sound that we make when we think. Yes. Light has frequency. Yes. Light can produce sound. Light is in everything and everyone. We're all light, all of us. Every particle in your body is a particle of light.
Yep.
So when we see other consciousness, when you leave your body, when you pass away, and you get for some reason stay here, it can be perceived as a ghost or specter. Right. Some people have left imprints here that are heard by others that don't stop for some reason until they're
like a residual haunting.
Yeah,
right.
Call that echoes. Yeah.
Right. So it is important to understand that when you wake up, when you're using your ability to receive the sounds that we all make, our brain, our consciousness, our thoughts, because that's you thinking, literally thinking. The universe can talk to you because it's thinking as well. And we can zero in on that particular sound or frequency. When you're talking about vibrating or resonating with someone, you're literally saying, I just picked up on your frequency and I hear you. I specifically have just tuned into you and I hear you talking. Yeah. I don't want anybody to misuse the idea of what Debz is talking about. This is a very specific knowledge and how it operates. We are all of us in conjunction with one another, and we're all seeking to have that resonance with one another. In other words, we want to hear everybody think, and we can zero individuals, or we can zero a whole group at once. We can think. If you're thinking about people talking as one, like when you do your CE5s, all those voices are resonating together in one voice, and over here we can hear that. We can pick up on it. So that's the operation of what resonance means. When you resonate with somebody, you've literally zeroed in on that person's thoughts, their consciousness, who they are, and you're in communion with one another. Okay. Yep. All right. I'll let you go.
Again, it's what we call coherence. When you are simpatico with another person's vibrational state.
Hearing them. Yes.
Yeah. And what's cool, Dolly, is thank you for bringing that up, because what's cool is I know, and the ETs or the intelligence, the beings have told me this. When we invented the internet, we put on our training wheels for conscious coherence all the time, comprehensive conscious coherence, which is how we live in the rest of the cosmos. This is just a little unique construct that we built for ourselves to have some experimental fun, basically, with some very rigid parameters.
Right. Yeah, we're closed in with it. I think we literally came up with this stuff because we weren't using our abilities to the full extent that we're able to. And we had to find another way to communicate with one another. And that's why we took it that direction with it. And which is okay. It's first steps, but you have to understand that ET doesn't do that anymore. They don't operate that way. They're fully cognizant and conscious and can contact one another clean across the universe. No problem. They can come and let you see them here consciously. They can remote view to you. They can OBE to you. They can do all kinds of things to you.
And we can do that as well. We all have the
That's right.
And that's some of the stuff that I teach. I have an online school called the Quantum Dojo. It's been on hiatus. We worked on that movie. It's just been so overwhelming. But these are the subjects that we teach. What you might call remote viewing, out of body experiences, telepathy. I call it telepathy, not telepathy, because it's the full deal, right? The full Monty. But this is our natural, true state. When we have poured ourselves into this tiny rudimentary spacesuit, there's a lot of limitation here because it's not fully operational the way we are in the rest of creation. But what we're trying to experiment with here is finding ways to bring that back and maybe even create new and unique ways that we've never had before, because all of consciousness is evolving constantly, right? So using the internet, where you have instant gratification of connection with people or information, whether it's good information or not, is debatable a lot of the time, but it's still access. It's just constant access of things. And depending, and this is the other part that we've been talking about, depending on your focused, maintained, sustained vibrational state, you are going to connect with those that are going to be in resonance with that state for the most part. So you have to watch your thoughts and you have to watch your actions, because as Dolly was saying, that is the language that's coming out. That is the communication.
Yeah.
Right.
ETs are way evolved with that. When I was young, it got put straight to my face one day that I had to up my morality. And I had to up my consciousness in my morality. And I had to do that first before I started sending messages out to anything or anybody, because what you say is about you. Yeah. And you don't want to go putting yourself, the cart before the horse, I guess is an old saying for that. Shut up, listen to everybody talking and learn from that before you make a comment on anything. Yeah. And if you have any emotional state about you, and this is where this is important, because emotions carry a heavy weight of vibration. Okay. Yeah.
Their energy and motion.
That's right. And you can vibrate out
like that
crazy ways. And you have to learn how to, focus that back and think about things before you open your mouth and say them.
Yeah.
And it's important to, but you learn that as you start to use your abilities too. That's the cool thing
You
about it.
do. You become more adept at it. It's not, it's like driving a car. Remember when you first learned to drive a car? How
Yep.
every step you were just sweating it, afraid you were going to make a mistake. And there's it seems like a million different steps to get that car going. But now you get in the car, you don't even think about it. It's a natural part of you.
Exactly.
Right?
You're doing
Still
it.
have to pay attention.
Yes. And that's the point.
Attention is important.
Yeah.
So what do you think, guys? Can we get to the comments or the
Yeah.
questions? Because,
I love
oh
that.
my gosh, there's a lot, and there's some really good ones.
Go to it.
And I definitely don't want to leave that out because I never get to them all. But let's start with we're going in order, guys, so be patient. Equestrian Chic. This is a good question. Are ETs, ghosts, and spirits in a similar plane of existence?
Depends. It depends on what your vibrational state is as to who you are perceiving, I think, and interacting with. But there are ghosts and ETs in every frequency.
Right.
You know?
ETs, when they physically pass away, they become into that state of being. You're leaving a physical body, but who you are is left behind. That's what a ghost is.
Sure.
And I've actually seen ET ghosts, and one followed me back here and
Awesome.
would not leave me alone for a long time. And I'm like, you're not supposed to be here. And I want to help you. Why are you following me around? And then I realized that this person, this entity, knew me from other lives and had something to say to me, and I needed to shut up and listen to it for a few minutes. And when I did, it was fine after that. We can perceive them as well as us. When you're meditating, if you decide you're going to go to another planet in your mind and you want to go find people out in the universe, trust me, you show up to them and they can perceive who you are. And you're communicating back and forth, whether you realize it or not, to everything and everyone in the universe.
It's all about intention and attention.
It is, Preston. It's a two-way mirror. It really is.
Yep.
It's not, and there is no separation. And I think that's the big mistake of our culture is we are, as humans, we're so into qualifying and labeling and categorizing. And so it causes more and more and more separation. And then the perception is we're not connected to anyone or anything. And so that's scary.
Right. And then we anthropomorphize everybody else.
Yeah.
We're not, we're a little different. Okay. And we're learning different things. It's all different classrooms throughout everywhere. And this person is not going to be just like you, and you can't expect them to be. And that's where communicating with one another and détente comes in, learning. And it's important to remember that. And yes, we are not different. We are all the same. We are.
Yeah. Well, I got chills when you said there's no separation, because that's the truth. We think of ourselves as individuals ending at our skin.
Mm-hmm.
But we're actually breathing the universe in and out. We're eating it. We're sharing thoughts. And as I think you travel on the spiritual path, you start to realize, oh my gosh, we are actually far beyond what we perceive as our limited self.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you say, do they have something to say in your sessions? Is there a message? Is one of them, how often do you hear, we are you, you're us, we're one?
Every single session.
Yeah.
We are one.
That's right.
We are one. And in fact, I almost had that tattooed on my body. I am you, you are me, we are one. Yeah.
Very cool.
Maybe I still will.
Let's rip through questions.
There's some more questions.
Here's another one from Leah. Good question. How do healers stay healthy in all manners?
There are a million pathways up the mountain, Leah, but I say anything that raises your vibrational state to stay healthy. When you are working with people who are in a state of dis-ease, whether that's physical or mental or emotional or spiritual, those states of being are often very low vibrational and they're very sticky. And so you really want to do anything that raises your vibrational state afterwards. I do a lot of, spiritual practices like smudging, like showering. I immediately go out and ground on the earth. I go outside in the sun. I breathe in the stars, whatever, chant. breath work, all of that, but really doing anything that makes you feel happy, loving, connected to the goodness of life. You could watch a comedy movie and cleanse from a very
laughter is so important.
Laughter is very healing. So there are many ways, just raising your vibrational state, whatever brings you into a state of feeling lighthearted, loving, wanting to be of service to others. That's
being empathetic can be
a lead sword. Yes, it really can be. And it's very important to cleanse from that. So
okay. I'm loving the questions, and there's a lot of them. There's like 30, so we'll see if we can get to them. Ryan Davis. So, do you think times exist simultaneously in different realities, or are we in the only timeline?
There are in my view, infinite timelines, infinite versions of you in infinite universes. And each one is somewhat unique to very unique to this one. It's just one point. This life that you call your life is one point of perspective in an infinitely faceted, perfect holographic jewel that is all of life. And so what you call a timeline is just kind of the human way of describing the chronology of events, if you will, in this reality. But they're infinite realities and infinite versions of you living them. Now, here's the kicker. Every time you make a choice between two or more things, you create more universes and more versions of you living out the choices you didn't choose. How's that for a mind bender? You choose to eat a Twinkie or an apple. You decide, I'm going to eat the Twinkie. You put the apple down. Well, you created another universe where the person chose the apple, and they go off and live their life that way, and it just ripples out. So
the way I look at it is the universe is infinite. So we're going to have the opportunity to have every kind of experience we're ever going to want to have.
Exactly. Yeah. So there isn't just one timeline, but you may be focusing on just one timeline. That's what we've been programmed to do in this reality anyway, because it's easier to control us when we're stuck in one little rut, right?
Okay. Let's see. Here is a... Not sure if I fully understand this question, but let's see. I asked to see my soulmate in a crowded ashram during a meditation. Siddha Yoga and Sawa Gray approached my face and looked into my eyes inches away. Opened my eyes and gone. Can I reconnect?
Yes. Go back to what you were doing and feel it and bring all the sensory input that you had then back into the sensory experience that you're having now. In other words, how did it smell? What were the colors, the textures, the sounds? How did your body feel? What did your skin feel like? Any kind of sensory input you can bring back from that experience. What were your emotions? How did they make you feel? Not just emotionally, but how did your body feel from them? And with a very concise intent to have that connection again, go into meditation, bring that information in, and with practice, you'll reconnect.
Very cool. Yeah, I think like we have all the power of the universe within us. I said it earlier.
So
you can absolutely do what you want.
We do.
Okay. Leah, she got another question in early. Can you tell what happened when someone can't find an explanation for an event in this life? I think we kind of put too much emphasis on trying to label things, have explanations. Ultimately, it's the experience that's important, right?
It goes beyond that. It's how you react. It is your reaction to the stimulus. In other words, if you have something come out of left field at you, stand back for a minute, breathe it in, think about it, let it happen. If it's simple, just experience it before you react, because it's how you react that tells why this happened.
How you respond.
And it could be karmic coming at you, and karma is trying to get you to flow through into that and exactly learn the lesson. So,
I like that. All right. More questions. Here's a good one from CT Guitar Guy. I have a question. What does Debz say to people who think hypnosis isn't ideal due to suggestibility in leading the client, even if the hypnotist is the best and well-meaning?
Right. Well, there are people out there who purposefully or inadvertently do lead people, but I will be very, very clear here. You cannot be hypnotized to do, say, or feel anything or experience anything that you would not choose to do outside of the hypnotherapy session. So a real professional hones their skills so that they do not lead someone. But people are only suggestible to a certain point. It's a very superficial form of suggestibility. You have to, somewhere inside of you, resonate with what that suggestion is, or it will not stick.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell, back in the early days, people wanted to come to me to stop smoking, for instance. And I'd be like, well, how do you feel about it? Why do you want to stop smoking? Oh, my doctor says I have to stop. How do you feel about it? I love smoking. I don't want to give it up. Like, it won't work.
Right, exactly right.
Until you really, really want to, it won't work. And I can give you all the suggestions in the world, and it might make you stop for a couple of days, but something else will make you start because you still have something in there that you're trying to figure out. So.
There is one aspect of this that I want to bring up. There are people who are suggestively open to the nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get somebody like that in your presence, and most hypnotists know this, there's an agreeable moment where you're working with your client where you give them an out for anything that is signaling to them, this is not something I've experienced. And it gives them the immediate, no, not happening to me, did not happen. And that they have free will, autonomy during this session to the point that anything you might say, if it hasn't happened, they're not suggestible to the point that they'll agree with it and make something up.
Exactly.
And I think this is what people are afraid of. And I have unfortunately met people who will take advantage of others this way. They are not reasonable, reliable hypnotists. And it's up to the person looking for one to remember these things when they're going to look for somebody who's comfortable, because the number one priority of any hypnotist who knows their stuff is that you are 100% safe, that anything you're going through is a safe space for you. No matter how or what was going on, what you're trying to remember or do, you're still in a safe place and you have a way to escape it in an instant. Wake up. And that's the important thing to know. So
that's part of the progression of the session in my work. And remember what I said earlier, my number one priority is the person's constant well-being when they're in my presence and beyond. And so I would never, ever consciously do anything, but I'm also very assured now, after all of these decades of working with people, that I could not make someone do something or experience something that, in a suggestible state that they would not normally agree to in the first place. Now, I have conversations with people a lot, and I don't want to go into this. This could be a whole show, but I have worked with many people who have been in mind control programs, have been victims of the deep state, a lot of Montauk children, things like that. And they're like, I know that, I've worked with veterans who said I was in a mind control program and they made me do awful things that I would never do. And I said, you wouldn't do it as a conscious human being walk around, except that and I always ask them, why did you join the service? Well, because it's my patriotic duty. I wanted to, whatever the reason, it's always a good reason. Why did you become a cop? Because I want to help people. Whatever that main reason was the underpinning for them accepting a suggestion to do something that they later on felt bad about.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
choose our experiences.
it also involves the deep state or MLMs or whatever. Use other controls other than
Drugs.
Drugs, exactly. And
they use
so,
torture as well.
so
And every human being can be broken.
of course,
And when you're meeting these people, you're talking to somebody who has broke,
Yeah.
and they're trying to climb back away from it.
it's,
And the number one reason, and I have a minor in psychology, so you know, one of the things you have to help them find for themselves again is their ability to say no.
no, exactly.
And
And
their
it's
ability to feel the feels of the anger that they've incurred over their, let
part
them
of the healing
work their way
process.
through it, because that's what heals. And one
Some
of the
people
things,
feel guilty when they get angry. It's like, no, it's okay.
No,
Your
baby.
emotions are okay.
It's an,
Right.
it's an important part of your psyche. So that's some of the most valuable and interesting work I've done, is helping a lot of those people who were in the My Labs and experiencing that stuff come through on the other side.
Is there a lot of that going on, you think?
There's a lot of it. I had no idea. And in fact, I might get one every 10 years for a while. Now it's, one every fifth client.
That makes me sad.
It's sad, but that's kind of how this experimental science lab has
Well,
construed.
that kind of leads to this next question. I'm going to move along through
go
these.
ahead.
I'm really hoping to get Leah again. Thank you, Leah. Is this the place where we have emotions? Are there other places where we feel like we do here on this planet?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I've been
I
there.
agree.
And there are others where it's completely unique from this experience. And it's ineffable. It's hard to explain in words, but it's still a beautiful experience, whether we have these emotions or not. This is just one set of
Emotion is not a
standards.
physical requirement. Your body does not tell you have emotions. Your consciousness does.
Consciousness
Part
does.
And it has nothing to do with being physical at all. You're a being, and you experience the entire range of everything. And we are given that here physically as well. Our bodies cry, they weep, they feel pain. It's all part of the understanding of how we learn, and we're employing these things that we're learning from our consciousness.
Right.
Consciousness
It becomes more higher and higher honed, if you will.
Exactly.
The more advanced the beings are.
Right. You talk about an anointed master. Okay. People like Buddha, Jesus, others. These are beings who have gone through the plethora and learned everything they could, and they're still coming here to serve. They're still coming here to help us.
That's bodhisattva in the
Exactly. And it's important that we take all that into account, because we're not all knowing locked inside this brain without our consciousness operating on 100%.
Yeah.
So when you feel truth in your heart, in your chest, then you start listening. Okay. Because that's your consciousness, or the actual who you really are is in connection with you at that moment. When you hook up in your chest, you're there. And that's one of the things I tell people to feel. You can feel that. You can really feel it. It's an emotion. It's an experience.
I think the feeling state is the most powerful point of power. It really is. Yep. That's what you should be listening to.
Yeah, emotions
that tells
are very
you
important.
What frequency you're in.
You got to feel your feels.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, these are a lot of questions here. Here's another good one from Rat Food. Why do certain negative effects follow you into other lifetimes? And is this the same for positive experiences?
Yes. They follow you because you're not finished experimenting with them. You're not finished exploring the connotations and the nuances of that. It's not a punishment. When we talk about karma, especially in our culture, the connotation is of a punishment for something, but it's not. It is the unfolding of more learning, and it's patterns. It's it's just the way we unfold. It's the way we learn. So yeah, we carry some of that over because we're not finished with it. When we're finished with it, it's dissolved.
Right.
Yeah. And definitely we carry positive experiences
as
well. All the talents you built up over lifetimes. We see this with little children
With
who are
babies.
prodigies who
Yeah,
play the piano like nobody's business,
I
or
know.
dance or whatever.
It's
Sing.
incredible. We're
Yeah.
seeing more and more of those coming through, by the way. As we
Oh,
were talking
boy,
about
yeah.
Buddha baby. Yeah.
Okay, here's another interesting. There's some deep questions. This one's from CT Guitar Guy. Question: Debz describes the singularity. I have a question. What does she define as the singularity? If Source is a collection of all our individual consciousness collectively, then what created that?
Nothing.
What is God?
Nothing. The singularity always has been, always will be. And it's something that our little operating systems just can't seem to quantify, but it's not quantifiable by third dimensional or maybe any dimensional understanding metrics. Singularity is all that is, and it always will be. And, you know, I used to really get angry at my mother, who was a very religious woman, but there were things that I would ask her questions about the religion we were in, and she'd say, it's just a mystery. You have to accept that it's just a mystery. And I'd be like, no, that's not right. It's not. But it's not a mystery. It's just that we try to overthink it. The singularity is the culmination of everything compounded, and it's constantly growing, expanding, and evolving. So it's not knowable because there's just more information creating itself always. Remember what I said about you create new universes every time you make a choice. Well, compound that by all the beings who ever lived or will live in each
Well, science is now saying there was no Big Bang, and that Dolly has said this. What the ETs taught her: the universe had always,
No Big Bang. There is no singularity.
always has existed.
We've always existed. But there is a huge, huge chasm between knowing and belief.
Oh gosh, yes.
You believe something you don't know,
things.
and you have the ability to know. That's the point.
Yes.
Everything is knowable. As a matter of fact, everything we're here to do is to know all that is knowable, and then we proceed on. There are levels of evolution
All that is knowable
in our existence, and we're evolving, all of us, on our own rate. Okay. So the reason I have a problem with religions on this earth is because they want you to believe without knowing. And no, no. This is not how this works. I know why electricity happens. I know why if you put your finger in a light socket, and the power's onto it, you're going to get zapped. I know why your heart might stop from it. I know what lightning is. I know what heat is and cold and everything. And I've put this all together in my brain, my consciousness, and then I tell myself, okay, well, what good is it for me to know all this stuff? This is where a lot of people get hung here. Okay. And the deal is that you take that and then you start to employ the knowledge. Okay. You make something out of what you know, and you employ it, and it gives you wisdom, because you start to see the layers, you start to gain the understanding of what really is. And that's the point. I don't create anything. I already have creation at my fingertips. What I do though is go for the knowing of it. I dive in that pool and I swim through it as much as I can, and I'll grab anything that I've learned, think about it, ponder it, and then employ that knowledge.
That's what life's all about. Experiencing.
That's the modus operandi, really, of being.
The joy of existence here, and it is a joy, is being able to do all of that. You know, it is the absolute gain of empowerment that you feel free. You know, you realize you're an autonomous being. You realize that you can do anything. You can.
I mean, that's why, you know, to come back to our admonition, our encouragement, we've been telling people tonight to meditate, to go within and be still. And when you do that and you become proficient at allowing yourself to be in that place, you don't eradicate thought. It's always going to be there. But there's that split second moment, that nanosecond, when you get this, I call it the drop of nectar. And it is
manna.
It is manna. That's the definition of manna. It's that drop of nectar that comes through the pineal gland, and it affects everything in your consciousness here, connects you to the consciousness, and you know that you are not alone. You know that you are all that is.
Exactly.
You know that nothing can harm you. And in that split second, you receive all the nourishment and encouragement and empowerment you need. Sometimes it lasts me for days.
Right.
But the more you do it,
Can you erase all those negative emotions,
Nothing.
depression or anger or greed or all
Yeah,
of
you
that?
start to realize that you are now beginning to heal yourself. That it
yes.
doesn't take somebody else to do it. You have had the power all along.
Yeah.
It's like Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
You know, you're wearing those ruby slippers. Use
I'm
them.
loving this show, you guys. This is an awesome show. Okay, I'm moving on to the next question. We're not going to get to all of them, guys. I'm so sorry. Are serial dreams normal? I actually look forward to them. Oh, I want to jump in here real quick.
Go, Preston.
Yes, they're normal and they're very important. Dreams have
Yeah.
so much to teach us. And when you're having a serial dream, it's coming to you hard because there's a lesson there.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
very important. And that's another subject that I cover in the Quantum Dojo a lot, or teach privately, is dream science, dream technology. Super important. And it's a very, very cool path to what you might call enlightenment, or greater understanding. But if you're having serial dreams, Alfred, I encourage you to pay attention to them, journal them, meditate on them, and practice having them. Because if you start to get excited about it, you literally can tell yourself while you're in it, I have to remember to keep going with this. And you will.
Yeah.
Ask a question after the next one. Sit down and literally think about what that dream said to you. And then ask the question, what am I supposed to learn about this? Give me the next clue, and you'll go to it the next time.
What does
I
this
love them too. He says, I actually look forward to them. Me too.
Me too. They're great.
Okay. Gosh, so many questions. I'm going to try. Misinformation. Nice name. I like
I
that.
love it.
Question. Does our lineage and actual ancestors play into our past lives, or are they connected?
Yeah. I mean, yes, they're interwoven. We are embodying, again, this physical body, this spacesuit, and it is entangled with our cosmic memory, with our, with our energetic memory. It's not just physical DNA and the genomes that make that up. It is also the energy, and the lineages aren't just physical. I always love this when I'm doing channeling with the star teachers. The big question is, well, where did I come from? What civilization am I from? And their answer is always the same. The one.
Yeah.
The source. We all come from the same place. But if you want to know the direct connection to the body that you're inhabiting right now, then they'll go into a little bit more specifics, but they say that's not, it's immaterial to even worry about it. But it's fascinating. Humans want to quantify things. So
yeah. Well, I like naming things too. It's fun. Okay. Michael Kennedy, question. Can you speak of your most rewarding CE5 experience?
Wow. A CE5 for me is, close encounters of the fifth kind. That's human initiated contact, usually exercised in a group gathering. So I'll keep it at that. In a CE5 group, it's really hard because they're so special. Some of them are so amazing. I will tell you a really cool one that happened not long ago, a couple years ago. I was leading a large group up in the retreat in Wisconsin. And in the middle of the evening, we take a break, go stretch your legs, go to the bathroom, whatever. But in that location, it's surrounded by a deep forest. It's a field surrounded by a deep forest. And so some of us like to go into the forest together in little groups and explore. And in that evening, just the people I was with, we encountered little light beings in the forest. We encountered a whole family of what you would call Sasquatch. They say they like to be called the Janu beings, and they popped in and out of dimensional.
Yeah, I think you may have mentioned this in our last interview.
We had a golden ship that just slowly came across the sky. We had something that came across the sky, and depending on the verbiage that people use, some people call it a power up, where you see something that looks like a star, and then all of a sudden it goes like that, gets really
There's a
big and
power.
bright.
Yeah.
We had one that came across the entire sky. It took almost, I don't know, 10 minutes, and we have it on video, that powered up 65 times.
Phew.
And when the video, the videographer stopped it and was analyzing it, he took one still shot right in the middle, right when it was at the zenith. And it's this burst like this. And it looks just like the Sombrero Nebula, the galaxy. It's a big burst. And then there's these streams of light coming out like this. And you can literally see a physical craft shape behind that, you know, and everybody was, and we had a huge amount of contact that night, including a big wall of mist that surrounded our entire group. And once that mist was there, I thought I fell asleep, and I wound up channeling, and someone had the wherewithal to record it. And it was one of the most profound messages for the group and for the world. So we had a lot of profound stuff, but we've had beings show up in the middle of the circle. We've had,
It's always awesome when stuff happens.
landings.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. It's really hard to say what my favorite is, but
I know. I want to tell you what my favorite one is, because it's a save of a whole bunch of people at
Do
one time. I was with a group that went to Disney World, and it was, my friend talked me into going. It was a religious group, and they were going to Disney World. And I said, okay, I'll go. What the heck? I'm going with my friend because I'm protective of her. Okay.
Mhm.
And they had this thing where they went out into the camp. We were at a chalet camp, and we're in a circle on these logs. Okay. And the people who own the chalets got really mad at them. Okay. And, you know, in Florida, they have mosquito foggers, and they brought the mosquito foggers out, and they started to come in to fog us out. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh, this is not good. I don't want to breathe this stuff. And I knew my contact was above our heads. And I said, can you help us? And the answer was a giant burst of wind came right down through the middle of us.
love it.
Blew it out. And everybody's going, God, oh, Jesus loves us. And I'm sitting there going, right, okay.
That's okay. However you
No,
describe it.
but it saved them, you know, because I wasn't
Yeah.
the only one in danger. There's like
Yeah.
60 of us.
Yeah.
And my friend looked at me and she said, are we looking up for a reason? And I said,
Yeah.
she was the only one who knew, because she knew about all this. And
Yeah.
I was like, that was a great day for me. I mean, it was a great day. I've never had him actually physically
good
affect
one.
anything around me like that. And
I
he did.
can't tell you how many we've had where we go out and set up, and it is absolute pea soup cloud cover and, you know, miserable. And when we get into the group coherence with these processes, and we don't even say get rid of the clouds. We just say we want to have undeniable contact. We'll go into the meditation at the end of that practice. And when we open our eyes, there's a huge circle above us with the star field. Everything else is still super cloudy, but I can't tell you how many times that's happened.
Oh.
And then, you know, there they are. They show up. So, hi, puppy.
That's
Dad. Oh my
Who's that
goodness,
girl?
it's a big guy, a big
Sure,
person.
her,
just
girl.
like the
Yeah.
girl.
145 pounds.
I
Yeah,
was just thinking of her because she usually likes to come when the show's wrapping up. And I'm like,
mine
yeah.
does too. He always wants to come in, but he's got an injury, so he can't come in tonight. But he's
Well, we've
as
only
big
got
as
a few more minutes left, but this question is important, and I know we've covered it, but Damon is asking, how do we decalcify our pineal gland?
There are lots of practices. There are physical practices and there are spiritual practices, and they're both equally important. Number one, get off of any fluoride. You know, if you're drinking city water or, you know, tap water that's been bottled and says it's
Try
special
to
water,
put a filter on your house.
you
if
have
you're breathing.
yes,
and the
even just
fluoride
showering and
here.
everything. Exactly. Some
Eat
of the
healthy, exercise.
sunlight, get earth contact, you know, go dig in the dirt.
Organic foods.
And then some of the spiritual practices that I was mentioning before, you know, yoga, tai chi, qigong, breath work, definitely.
You have to practice using it.
And you do have to practice using it, because it literally breaks that up and dissolves it, not just physically, but, you know, in the other frequencies. And again, I can't remember who just asked that question, but if you want to go to my website and look under tutorials, and you will see a tutorial for some of those
I might
processes.
start a run on this, but I want to give you a clue about something. Tibetan singing bowls.
Oh yeah,
A minor, E minor. Get either one or both. And
I've got a whole set right here behind me in my room.
The vibration of it helps break up the calcium
Mhm.
in your pineal gland. It's a gland, it's part of your
Yes.
endocrine system. And that vibration, that's what the Om is, by the way. Om.
Sound
That's
technologies, what
Yeah.
mantra is.
And it can help bust that up. Once you get off the fluoride and everything like that, and you start drinking properly and eating properly, you can help break up the calcium in that gland.
It
So
really
it's like
works.
if you have kidney stones, they use sound to burst the stone.
Ultrasound, yeah.
Well, that's calcium that's calcified inside your kidneys into a stone. You can use those vibrations as well for your pineal gland.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, I think we're pretty much at the end of the show.
Oh
I
man.
tried to answer as many questions as we could. So sorry, guys, but we got to most of them. So that's good.
Reach out, I'll answer them later, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm available to everybody. So
But we do
Please
have
do.
1 minute left. Debz, I know you wanted to talk about that adventure, which we mentioned in the beginning.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
give you a reminder about that.
It's called the Contact Modalities Expo, and it's spelled XPO. Contact Modalities Expo. By tomorrow afternoon, it should be up on my website. It's not up there right now, but it's on my Facebook page, Instagram page, my X page. All of the socials already have it. May 2nd through 4th in Delavan, Wisconsin. It's kind of south central Wisconsin, a beautiful location where we will be doing stuff during the daytime with Jimmy Church, Chris Bledsoe, Scott Walter, Haley Ramsey, myself, Kimberly Porth, Gary Osborne, Jimmy Church, all kinds of great speakers and presenters and lots of interactive classes and stuff. And just a beautiful place. And I hope you'll join us. It's going to be so fun. And I would love to see all of you there.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debz.
Thank
This
you,
was awesome
guys.
show.
It was so much fun. I always am sad because they're like, where did the time go?
Right. Well, we're bringing you back, so don't hang up, because when we go, we're gonna rebook. Okay.
Thanks, Dolly. All
Okay.
right. And thanks
First-
to everybody. I love you all. And again, if you have questions, just hit me up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, the
thanks.
contact notes are
Yeah.
the links are in the contact notes
Yay.
or the
Thanks.
contact or the show description.
Right.
Contact. Okay, I just want to give a shout out to all you guys in chat. You've been lovely
Oh,
tonight. Thank you,
thanks to all of you.
Namaste, and Bob
Yeah.
Thorson. All you guys have donated
Mhm.
so generously. Susan and Leah, you guys are amazing. T-Bone,
Wow.
Heidi, we love you so much. JS, it means a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Well, this is ending this episode of the Lightgate. I'm so thankful, Debbie, that you came. It is important that you come back, and we will work that out. We came to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans tonight at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on Facebook. We're on Roku. We are on Rumble. Yes, I got it right this time. And and YouTube. Thank you. And I have word issues. And thank you, Carnation, for coming to our network and helping us out. We love you very much. We love everybody who came tonight and everybody else. Namaste. And we'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye.
Much love. Thank you.